What are you doing, Tina?
What are you doing, Jenny?
We are two women living our best lives in the Black Hills of South Dakota, sharing our stories, laughs, and projects happening in the garage.
Whether you're looking for a bit of joy, a spark of creativity, or just a comforting voice, you can find it here. Unicorn!
Okay, I don't know what episode we're on, but here we are. We are on road. We're
at the chapel.
Yes, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, baby.
That's right.
What are we doing,
Local. Well, we are staying at the most beautiful place called the Chapel. And Tina described the space for us. This is incredible.
So I came across this space watching some social media content and immediately fell in love with the project. It is an old church that I have later come to find out is the first synagogue in South Dakota, which opened in 1934. And we have Tony and Lisa here with us that bought the property after a fire in 2022 and have completely restored not only the structure itself, the physical structure, but the way that it's tied to the neighborhood and the community. And they're here with us, and I can't wait to talk to them about that whole process.
That's awesome. Yeah. And one of the things I love, and you love it too, we talk about it a lot, is when people buy unloved old spaces and completely give them a whole nother life, is something we're super interested in. And Tina and I have talked about many times, like hundreds of times.
Yeah, when we met Tony, I said I was a total jelly donut because this has been a project, like whether it's a firehouse, a church, a school, something of that magnitude that we've wanted to redo for the same purpose. So, yeah, my hat's off to him.
Definitely.
I can't believe how beautiful you've decorated in here. And just the piano.
Yes.
Can you tell us about the piano over there?
Sure. So the piano is not the original one, but it's the same piano from the movie Big. And who hasn't watched the movie Big? And specifically that piano scene, that's the best. Chopsticks, I believe, right?
Yep.
And so we had some friends from the pavilion that were over about 2 months ago. And I had told them I reached out to the gentleman that made that piano. And I had heard back from them. And they said, Tony, we had that in the floor at the pavilion right just down the road. And back in 2015, and we have that in storage right now.
Oh my gosh.
And so after they went back, they did just wanted to confirm everything was operational. It worked great. And about 3 weeks later, they're letting me borrow it until they're going to put it back as an exhibit again. So it's so fun, and guests have enjoyed it so much. Again, I don't know how long it'll be here, but we'll make the most of it until we have to give it back.
We'll have to play with it like right with you.
Mm-hmm. So Tony, tell us about the origin story for you and how this project came to be and how you became aware of this property being available and what your initial thoughts were. And did you have any idea what you were getting into?
No. So back in 2023, in October, I walked in here, and I've been doing real estate for about 24 years on the buying and selling side of it. And in that amount of time, I have never seen a church pop up on our local market. And so I decided to take a look at it. And initially, it wasn't for myself. My brother, who lives in Minneapolis, has always talked about having a home office here. So right away, I called him up and sent him some pictures. And, he wanted me to go look at it. I came and walked through and, again, sent him the photos. And he said, let's buy it. So we put the offer in. It got accepted. And then about a week later, he got a chance to make it to Sioux Falls. And when he stepped foot in the building, he said, no way can this happen. Logistically, just, walking in and seeing how much work that he had to put into it, he just could not make it work on his end. trying to manage a project like this at this scale, it just wasn't a possibility. So with his blessing and support, I took the contract over, and here we are now.
Wow.
So tell me, when you're looking at, rehabbing a space like this, I would imagine there's, some engineering things that have to happen. And how'd you navigate all that?
So, building is only good as its foundation, right? So I had 2 structural engineers that came through, and both of them said, there are a few boards that we had to replace. There was a hole where the altar used to be, and so we had to replace that. But overall, it was structurally intact. So that was a good place to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And was your vision for the chapel always to be kind of a, vacation rental / event space, or did you ever consider moving in?
Still am considering moving in.
Yeah.
Right. No, at this point, we're just, so excited to have, people in this community utilize the space. Our friends from West River, like yourself, coming in to appreciate the space. And it is truly a blank canvas as far as what it can be used for. All the furniture on the main floor, and, it's a wide open 1,700 square foot place.
Mm-hmm.
The furniture can all be rearranged or even hidden, whether you want just an intimate family gathering, a wedding, anniversary, whatever it may be. It's kind of like back in the old school game Tetris, right? How you can customize it based on how you want to utilize the space. And I used to work at Gateway Computers. I don't know if you remember those California boxes, right? I mean, who doesn't remember those, right? So when people called in and we always ask the questions like, how are you using the computer? And based on how they were using it, that's how we customize the machine. So I would say the main floor is similar to that.
Yeah.
And so that's our goal, is however our guests want to use it, we want to make that happen and make it feel like home or whatever it is the occasion they're using it for.
Oh, what a beautiful vision you have.
Thank you.
It's just ever been featured on any television shows or anything on cable TV?
So we, right when we got done, we had the Sioux Falls Business Journal. They did a story on it, as well as Kelloland TV. So we've had a couple local stations and news groups reach out and cover a story on it, because as Tina and Jenny mentioned, this was built in 1934 as the first official synagogue in South Dakota, and is also in the middle of the Great Depression.
Right.
And when I walked through it, it was probably the darkest time in this building's history, after catching fire. And not only, the structure itself, but for me personally, when I walked into it, I was going through one of the toughest times of my life as well. So I could really resonate of where it was in the darkness and the brokenness. So it had a special meaning for me too, just not from a physical standpoint and where the structure was at, but just me personally, just trying to heal myself as I'm going through to resurrect the property.
Wow, almost like a physical manifestation of your own healing in restoring this building.
Yeah.
Just so cool.
Makes it 10 times more beautiful now.
Like the foundation of the structure and your foundation were solid, but some things needed to be shored up.
Right. And the healing journey is never easy, right?
Right.
I mean, there are times, throughout the process where it's like, can I really finish this? And, I think all of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
And everybody that walks through these doors, no matter if they want to admit it or not, they've all gone through those periods of life.
For sure.
But what do you need when you are going through those most challenging times? You need community.
Absolutely.
You need family. You need friends to rally around and support you.
Yes.
And like, how are you going to get through that? It's easy to ask, why me? Why am I going through this? I think the why always reveals itself later on of why it happened. And it absolutely has
And the
with the chapel.
podcast is based on community, and it's just fate that you're here
Yeah.
hearing the story.
Yeah. Tony, tell us about the beautiful woman sitting beside you.
This is Lisa, and we met shortly after I purchased the building. And I do have to say that Lisa's family, specifically her brother, was concerned about me taking her to this place, to the chapel that was broken down, abandoned. And he wanted to make sure that she had her location turned on at all times. Like,
good. Yeah. He said, turn your location on. I don't, like, how well do you know? How's that? Where are you going?
yeah. And so Lisa has meant so much to me in this process. And Lisa can speak to this, but, about 2 or 3 years ago, she also had gone through a painful period of her life. And so she's been with me since day one of the journey. And I could not have done this
It's okay.
without her.
That's so, I appreciate, yes. No, Lord, we appreciate your vulnerability and we appreciate your transparency and honesty, because that's, the history of us wanting to start this podcast is really been about not just building community, but it's been about giving people the space and the platform to talk about hard topics and to be vulnerable and to share their story, because we never know what we say and how the impact of those words is going to resonate with somebody listening, and they need that. So for somebody that has known you for all of 6 days, I am so grateful for you being willing to be so transparent with us. And it is so important for people to know this story.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And it's easy. I mean, especially I think for guys, and including, myself growing up, we're always taught, right, to be strong, to be tough, not to be vulnerable. And that's tough as as a guy. And, I found just going through this journey, being able to surround myself with other people. And I found once I've shared my story, they open up and they begin to be vulnerable and authentic about what's going on in their life, rather than just the surface level conversations. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But, for me, I needed something more than that.
Yeah. And, I think too, when we came across the YouTube videos and then looked up the chapel, Sioux Falls, on the internet and got to your webpage and saw those pictures, I said to Tina, that's great that there's this shiny, beautiful property. I said, but there's a story behind it, because we've done enough reno to know that it's never just about the finished product. It's so much more about,
it's never a service thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's all, that's what we're interested in, is the journey to how, people got to this finished product place, but also the way that the renovation transformed you and changed you and healed you, it sounds like, in a way.
Jelly always spills those stories. When they first arrived, she sent me a text message. I can't wait for you. Actually, it was a phone call.
Oh,
I can't wait for you to see this place. And she shared the story. She's like, can you believe it?
Yeah, it felt like, I don't know, a kid on Christmas morning walking into this beautiful, beautiful space. We feel so honored to be here.
And yeah, I mean, and talking about, the story, about 6 months into it, it was probably one of the toughest days of my life, throughout, during the process. It was the toughest day, and I just needed a break. So I went down to the courthouse and I wanted to just find out more of the history of the chapel. And so I pulled up, some of the deeds that had transpired throughout. And the original deed was signed in 1881.
Oh my gosh.
The gentleman's name was Artemis Gale. His sister was Helen McKinnon with the historic McKinnon Park. And Artemis Gale was also early pioneers with the Dakota Territory here in Sioux Falls. So just so much history with him. He was also the first school board president in Sioux Falls. And that's special in itself. But what made it even more special with that is my dad was in the Sioux Falls school system for 26 years.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And he was my principal. And when I was in 5th grade, just before I turned 11, he passed away unexpectedly of a heart attack at 49 years of age. So just going back and seeing that deed and doing a more deeper dive into who this Artemis Gale was and knowing he was a first school board president, that was pretty cool. But then as I glanced down to the bottom of the deed, the county signed it May 20th, 1881. And that was also special to me because that's my birthday.
Oh my gosh, Toshi. Sign so many. Oh my god, I know.
Goosebumps every year. Oh my gosh.
And so being one of the hardest days, I mean, that just gave me reassurance. I mean, for sure my faith has gotten me through this. And now it's like, God is shining down on this and my dad. Like, this was meant to be.
Validation too, that this is the work that you're supposed to be doing and it matters, right? To keep forging ahead.
Right. And like we talked about, eventually the why figures itself out, right? And that was a why moment for me.
So good. Do not ever doubt those signs.
Yeah.
No, Lisa, I have a question. So you're newly dating this man. And so I'm just trying to figure out new relationship renovation, like how those two things.
Because we had to sit here for a number of years before he dove into a joint venture.
Well, I wasn't too terribly, but I got to just come over and do things when it was fun. Probably because we were newly dating. He was like, "Oh, you're here. Here's a sledgehammer," or you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was more, it was more just like here and there, and we were newly dating, so we didn't see, I wasn't here every day. I stopped by quite a bit, but I like to say like I brought coffee and just like, helped occasionally. But I mean, you did a vast majority of the work by yourself or with your boys or with, you had a couple people helping, but.
And did you help? You helped with some of the furnishings and artwork, and one of the things that I would have been completely freaked out about is the space, the expansive wall space that is in here, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, I wish I could take credit for all of it. You had an amazing work with Amanda Buell, who is also a realtor here in town, and she did a ton of even like helping pick the color for the final color for the floor, and the paint colors and all the details and the railing and countertops. I mean, she was incredible. So I think we got a lot of, she would say, here's, 3 options that would be good. And we were like, okay, that looks good to us. This is kind of a thing. So that was amazing. And then Tony's sister, Julie, actually helped too with a lot of like what's on the wall. Her, some of the pieces her and I went together. And so I did do like, I feel like my eye is in some of it, but I cannot take credit for it. There was a lot of people who stepped into this space and just said, okay, this is what I would do, or shared opinions kind of back and forth.
With our renovation, we obviously had help too along the way. And I love how all of the people that had a hand in our renovation, it becomes part of the story. As far as like, remember that time, like there was a time, remember when that sewer cap was like uncapped and the house like had this odd smell for a couple weeks, and I had t-shirts made for everyone.
I forgot.
When it was like, this Team Wilderness Canyon reno, and then at the bottom it said, "What's that smell?" in italics. I came across a great t-shirt not too long ago, and I had a good laugh about it.
She got t-shirts for everyone that worked on the project with us and had their names put on the backs, and some of them had nicknames, some of them not appropriate, but I do feel like when you start a project like this, it's this overwhelming thing, and you're trying to structure it and have a timeline, and things are not met and there are delays and there are challenges in procurement of, goods or services. But that also becomes part of the story.
It does.
Yeah, it was, you've heard this, but I think that was, so to your point about like being in a new relationship, seeing, and you probably saw this when you went through your first renovation together too, seeing Tony's reaction to challenges was helpful for me to understand who he is too as a person.
Oh.
So it was, because people react in very different ways. It was revealing, and it helped. I think it helped us to understand each other too. Just like, me, especially him. There were a lot of things throughout the project, as you know, especially in an older building, that were unexpected. And so just being able to see how he handled it and how he was to, like, does he take that kind of stuff home, even though it's a project really close, or is he able to sort of separate? And so, it was helpful in revealing who he is too. Yeah.
And what did you learn about that?
Well, he's a very patient person, but everyone has, there were things that we found out, like, okay, we got comfortable being emotional with each other, being vulnerable, things like that. But yeah, I would say, I grew up with a father who didn't react really wildly when bad things happen. He just got a little more like introspective and would just be a little more like, okay, that sort of, and so that was, it felt comfortable, to have, just to know that he's a little more like that. But then also, we found ways to communicate, like, okay, I just, need a little more like space to step back. Today's been a hard day. And so figuring that out early was good for both of us. I think we both, we're in our 40s, clearly. So we've been through relationships and knew the areas where we both knew that we wanted to grow personally, but also things that were important to us in the next relationship. And so we found those things out pretty quickly, which is, I guess, a fun bonus of the project.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love in middle age. I think there's so many. I think it's so much more fun.
It is.
Yeah.
Because you shed all of these like insecurities or things that there's less pretense, and there's more real conversations about, like, are we compatible? And we don't have 10 years to figure this out, and let's find out, and see.
Yeah.
And so I really love all of the, I guess, the shedding of expectations as we get a little older, especially as women, where, a lot of us have tried to live up to this professional standard, this personal standard. You're supposed to be rocking it at everything, raising kids, being a spouse. You're supposed to be killing it at your career. And then you get to your, 40s, and for me, 50s. And I just, I don't give a crap anymore like I used to about a lot of things that don't matter. And it frees up so much room for conversations like this and developing friendships like this that now I know we're going to have forever. And I'm so grateful. I'm just to the tip of my toes grateful about, there's just been so much alignment this week too, about and this space kind of started that for us.
Oh,
and so I am,
Paul, to come down here under the umbrella of work, of content creation for the tournament, but to have this tangential connection in this space very organically and unexpectedly has probably been the tone setter for the other conversations that we've had with people not related to the tournament.
And Tina, if you feel comfortable, could you talk about having the opportunity to have guests join us this week, but also have your parents join us?
Yeah.
And I'd like you to talk about what happened in this space because we were in this space?
So, you know, my parents have always been my biggest thing. It when you talk about a support system in somebody's coming out journey, my experience has been pretty idyllic, to be completely honest. And it has spilled over to, my sister being the same way, that the core nucleus of the people I surround myself with were always that way. I didn't have the loss of friendships or family or the judgment or shame that a lot of people feel when they are on that journey. So to have my parents here when we had a guest come to play the tournament, and we've talked to the individuals that came here to play with us and had some really deep conversations with them while they were here. And superficially, again, they're coming under the premise of, I'm a social media follower of yours, and I just won this opportunity to come and play in a tournament with you and at a location and in a type of event that I'll never have the experience to do. But then they get here, and we've never met them. Every exchange that we have had is in a platform that's text that we're reading, and you're trying to interject your own emotion of what we anticipate they're feeling into that exchange. So when they're here and you get to feel their strengths, you get to see their brokenness,
Their hurt places.
and you feel this instant responsibility to patch them up and to give them a different perspective, give them a different view. To have this space, to have these four walls, and what the origin story of this space is, play a role in that exchange. I don't think that we've really, I certainly didn't anticipate, and I don't think that I've really processed what that has meant, not only for us, but also for them. And then to have my parents here who don't see things the way a lot of people's parents, and certainly her parents, do. Her parents have unfortunately not been supportive. And there is a lot of fear, and there's a lot of judgment, and there's a lot of hurt and pain for them. So to have my mom and dad here to embrace them when they'd hit this incredible shot on the golf course, and for my dad to joke around with them and give them high fives and rib them as though he's known them for 40 years and he's been to every softball game and little league baseball game and soccer match of their lives. Those things don't happen by chance. And Jenny and I talk a lot about things like this. We think we're in control. None of us are in control. These are all God's plans. These are all touches of, we are right where we are supposed to be with the people that we're supposed to be with. So I'm really grateful to you, not just on the surface, for, your generosity and the space and the connection, But I'm grateful to you for giving us a chance to help two people from another part of the country that have never experienced love and joy and true acceptance in the way that this did.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Love one another as Christ has loved us.
Absolutely. And, you know, to watch Tina's mom and dad on the edge of whatever, the tee box or the putting green, cheering just as loud for them as Tina. And you could just feel it that there was a certain reparenting that took place this last week with those two ladies. And I watched it happen. And I watched Tina's mom and dad in their way just surround them with all the love and acceptance. And you could just tell that it was a new thing for her. And I think it changed her, you know? And, you know, we sent them out of the chapel that day saying, "You're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. And you are beautiful. And you are worthy.
And you're not alone. No. You're now family. And I think that's such an important part of the human condition now with the climate that is around us every day. And then the loss of the ability to have a difference of opinion, but to still listen to understand rather than to convince or respond. None of what happened in the 3 days that they were here would ever happen in a hotel room.
Not ever. And that is so, I love that because I think that you asked earlier what the vision was for this. And I think like the most consistent vision that this place ever had was to be a place for people to gather, to celebrate, and to heal. You said that so many times. When you started telling this story, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool because that's something that, like, from the beginning, I'm a crier, by the way.
Okay, we are to be welcome to the family. Welcome to the family.
He is good.
I know, from the beginning, Tony said I was like, I mean, almost to the point that I was like, people can do other things here besides, like, funerals and stay when there's someone in the hospital, but you had just this strong vision of people healing here, whether that's in a celebration or in staying with new friends or whatever. That it's just incredible that it allowed the opportunity for them to get to know you better and your parents better, because that has to, I can't even imagine what I would be like to feel that disconnect.
You know, the funny thing is your parents, so this was like a last minute thing. Her parents decided to come at the last minute, and we thought maybe they were coming for the weekend, but then they awesomely decided they wanted to ride with us and come. And I personally love it when Tina's parents come because Tina's mom is just, she's the busiest bee ever, and she will do everything she can to support everyone with whatever they're doing.
She's love in action. And if I ever... Jenny says I am love in action, but then there's my mom.
Well, you learned it from your
She takes it to another level.
Yeah, she does. And so like yesterday we came home and there's like clothes hangers hanging from the fridge and the freezer. She's like hand drying our golf clothes and doing, you know, it was just, she made like a broccoli casserole the other day. She
brushed up by the towels and linens and, you know, she's just, that's my mom. But one thing we didn't know that was your vision for this space. And that makes it even more impactful for me, because when I look at these two women that came from Kentucky, one of them has lost both of her parents. They've since passed and aren't with us anymore. And the other one has parents that don't support in the way that frankly, parents should. I'm just going to call it what it is. So you have these two women that are going through this incredible experience,
which is so joyful and happy.
and they can't share it for two different reasons, but the impact is still the same. I don't know. There's more to this story. It's not done.
No. Hmm. For sure. And then also for your mom, you know, Tina's mom has Parkinson's. She's a multiple myeloma survivor. And for us to be able to have this week in this space with your parents has been such a gift to all of us, but I'm sure especially to you.
Yeah, I mean, any experiments, you know, any days where there's activity, or I get to bring them into something that they haven't done before, and we are creating that memory together. You know, I don't know how many of those we have left.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, for sure. Thank you for listening to your heart and finding this place and making it a part of your love story and your journey.
Because you're on one too.
These walls are built with love, and it's not just a bed and breakfast place. It still is a chapel. It still is a place of healing. And thank you for bringing us here.
I also just want to, I would be remiss if I didn't mention how many alignments have happened for us this week that only the God of the universe could have put together. And so, funny story, we check into the chapel on Monday, and we have things starting Monday night into Tuesday. Tina and I have seen Tony and Lisa every single day.
That's right.
At almost every event we've been to. And we we've actually hung out with all of your friends all week long, as unbeknownst to either one of us. And it's just been such a great experience to meet all of the amazing people in Sioux Falls who've not only put the tournament together, but who make this community what it is. And I have told Tina for a long time, I love coming to Sioux Falls to do business because everyone in Sioux Falls, in the business community, and certainly in your circles, is really committed to making this an awesome place to live, work, raise a family. You got a lot going on economically, which is super exciting. And for people who haven't visited Sioux Falls, you should put it on the list because it's a pretty awesome place.
Yeah. If you haven't picked up on this yet, the best place to stay is the church.
Yes.
Okay, Riesel, yes. Tony, where can people find information about the chapel and how do they book?
Yeah, so they can go to our website, you know, www.sfchapel.com. That's the best place to find out more information. We're available also on all the social media platforms, you know, Facebook, Instagram, and thankfully to Lisa, now TikTok.
All right.
Yeah.
She introduced me. I know. I need to give it the time. So, yeah, those are the best spots to visit. And we'd love to have you here. It's such a special place, whether you're coming to town for just a weekend with your family, or you're looking to have a weekend where it's an anniversary, graduation, an intimate wedding, rather than just like a 6-hour sprint, right? Where you have a wedding, let's say on a Saturday night, your family and friends can enjoy the entire space on the main floor, being a large gathering place, and then having accompanying up to 10 people for sleeping.
Yeah, it's beautiful. all king beds, by the way.
Very
Where
weird.
can you find that?
Home run. What are those mattress home run?
Oh, we've had rave reviews about those mattresses.
So
Yeah, I created the details. Yeah, South Dakota Furniture Mart, they're plugging there for that. So
it's so funny because my fiance and I are looking for a new mattress, and I'm like, this is it. This is
Right.
the one.
yeah, we were told, we get some great feedback on the mattresses, and we've already had struggle with those. Yeah, so
Okay.
Thank you guys for spending time with us this morning.
thanks for having us.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Where can people send in questions and comments?
You can send questions to info@theunicornprojects.com, or you can leave us a toll-free message at 844-605-LIFE, and that's 844-605-5433.
Let's teach you how to unicorn.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Unicorn.
Unicorn. My hat off.
There you are. Bravo.
Thank you for tuning in to the Unicorn Projects, hosted by Amy Rose with Jenny and Tina. Music by Caroline Kilty. Produced by Russ Haddon. Engineered by Chris Jaquez. It's the Unicorn Projects on the Home Slice Audio Network.